Hello, I'm Coach Pav, and today I'm going to be discussing with you how you can successfully complete your Gran Fondo or Sportive event. So for this video, we're going to presume that you have actually done all the training, you've done all of the work developing your nutrition and mentality plan, you've got the bike fitted correctly, everything is sorted, and now you're about a week away. You're about maybe 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, the typical point at which you would start to reduce your training and taper into your event. If you're not sure what a taper is, I will link in the description or in the blog below a great guide to tapering. So given that you're now in the final week or whatever it is before, we're not really talking about how you can do anything additional to be more successful. What we're really kind of talking about in a kind of fun, looser way is not messing up. Because realistically, this is where a lot of people go wrong. They do something silly, somewhat stupid, and unwise in the period between where you are now and your event. Now, the biggest thing to remember is no matter what you're doing, the training adaptation will take on normally 3 weeks, 21 days, minimum sort of 14 days. So if you have got a time period shorter than that, the training isn't going to do anything. So you can't really do any last ditch stuff. Maybe potentially you could get some gains in your flexibility, your ability to hold the position on the bike. So if you've not done a lot, or if you've got your last big ride a week before, don't worry, that could still help. You're probably not going to get the performance benefits, but certainly it'll be a good confidence boost, and it can definitely help with just that familiarity around being in that position. If you've never ridden your bike for like 5, 6 or longer hours, that the first thing that you will notice is actually how difficult it is to be in that position when you're unfamiliar with it. So yes, don't worry if you've still got a big ride to go or anything like that, do it. But just know that everything else, if you've done the work already, if you've done all of your long rides, done all the training, you're not going to get any better gains in this time. So actually what you want to do is take your foot off the gas and start to relax and allow your performance to peak. And that's essentially what a taper is. It looks different for almost everybody, so don't worry about what that looks like. Now is not the time to experiment. Hopefully you've already done some stuff in with little events, like unimportant events, or with testing to develop what sessions might work to help peak your fitness. But ultimately, don't panic and don't do too much in this last week leading into your event. So really what we're talking about here, as I said, is not messing up. So you want to do stuff like, now is the perfect opportunity rather, to do stuff like pack your bag, make sure you've got everything. Now I've got an amazing list of stuff that you should always remember to take or consider taking. So I will link that in the description. It'll be on my website. Download that, bookmark the page, whatever you want to do with it, and you can use it as a checklist as you go through everything. I do it every time I go away on a cycling or whatever vacation holiday. I always get that blog up and I just work my way through it to make sure I've packed everything. Another thing that you can do, which is going to make a massive difference, is try to learn the route. It's not always easy to do, but there's lots of people record record Gran Fondos or Sportives now, so I'm fairly confident you'll be able to find stuff so that you know it. It's not the end of the world if you don't do it, but it will give you a good boost, confidence, and that the route, because I think we've all been there where we feel like maybe you're riding and suddenly there's nobody around you, and there's been lots of different turns, especially in the UK. Sometimes it can be very easy to think that you've gone wrong, and then that can be elevates your heart rate, gets you stressed, and potentially you may have actually gone wrong, and hopefully learning the route will resolve that. So obviously that what we want to do as well is make sure your body is activated. So you don't want to be doing nothing. You're going to have more time, I think, probably less training time, but you're still going to be doing stuff to just make sure your legs tick over and that you're promoting that recovery. You've also got a really good opportunity to work on your mentality, really de-stress, try and relax as much as possible, because as you enter into the event feeling confident with a strong positive mindset, you're going to enjoy the event more, and when you take that pressure off, that's where you're going to see some real surprising performance improvements as well. So moving into the day immediately before the event, most people get this completely wrong. The last thing that I don't know if I've ever worked with an athlete who definitely performed better with a rest day before. So almost everybody that I coach with, at least we develop a day before session, a routine, which is great because it's something that they do automatically, but it also benefits the mentality, right, where you get in that zone almost, you start to prepare what is going to come, and you just kind of get super focused on it, and you really get like in that mood, in that zone. So definitely don't do nothing, but also remember to do the obvious things like fuel well, hydrate well, get a good night's sleep, don't eat junk food, avoid alcohol, like there's opportunities to drink beers with your buddies after you finish the event, and stuff like that. Make sure your bag's packed, make sure the bike is good. It is about not making mistakes at this point rather than getting any gains. So do what you've got to do. Hopefully you've done some smaller sportives or events as tests. Hopefully you've made mistakes in those events that have prompted you to be able to maybe make, be super, focused on what you need to do in terms to not make the mistakes on your big one. And a big one, another massive one that people tend to do in the day before, even a few weeks before, don't change anything. Do not change your bike position. Do not change your kit. Don't change your cleats. If you have to do something because something's broken, you snap a cleat, you need to buy new bib shorts, or something happens, try and do it as far away from the event as possible. If it happens the day before, that's unfortunate. You're just going to have to hope that you get that all sorted, and just try and make sure you do get a ride in, just to make sure that you're not going into that with totally fresh. So that if there's any slight changes you need to make, you do that before the event itself. Definitely don't try anything new. Don't eat anything new. Have an idea of what you're going to eat for the day before. Have an idea of what you're going to eat for breakfast. Now is not the time to experiment. Just be focused. Don't get caught up with other people doing what they're doing. Do what you have planned. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the day itself. Again, rookie error is to not follow your plan. And there's loads of things that we can talk about here, but obviously the excitement of the day, we all want to be our best performance ever. We all think, like I've done it many times in time trialing, that today is going to be the day that magically I'm going to put 50 watts out extra. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. You might be slightly better, but it's unlikely that if you start really hard that your ride is going to be better overall, because typically you're just going to burn out through your matches, and you'll see your performance drop off. So start easy, get in the mood, get in the swing of it, fight that urge to go really hard from the outset. If you're at mass participation events, try and get in a good group. That will really help you out. That's a really big point. If you're riding with buddies, share the load. Hopefully all your buddies are a similar sort of performance, but drafting is going to be a way to save an awful lot of energy, and you can rotate, do pace lines, chain gangs, whatever you're going to do to really, really keep that speed up with that effort down. That's going to make it so much easier over the course of the day. But again, don't burn through your matches. If you're in a group and you're really starting to struggle, it's better to drop off and get in the next group behind than to be dropped and not be able to get in the group that comes through next. That can be really tricky to do, especially in when you've got 10,000 other people around you, because it's just going to be madness everywhere. But it's better to just play it safe than to try and push through and eventually get dropped and have to ride ages on your own because there's such a big gap between the different groups. So also just remember your nutrition plan. I always tell my guys on long events, find out what they have at the feed stations and make sure you've eaten that, you've tested that out in your training rides. The last thing you want to do two last things you want to do is carry everything that you want to eat over the course of 6, 7 or 8 hours longer potentially, but also you don't want to turn up to the feed station and get a dodgy tummy because you have tried something that you've never had before. So find out what they're going to eat. It's super easy usually. Almost every big event now has it on their website because it'll be a sponsor partner, or they'll have a Facebook support group. You can just post it in there. If you're at a smaller event, email the organizer. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to tell you what nutrition products they're going to have on hand. Probably super simple, like dried fruit, bananas, and then bars and energy drink. That's, just try and find out what it is, practice that in your training, and then, execute that plan. Don't deviate from the plan. It's so important. And then, of course, you might be monitoring your performance using a power meter. You might have a heart rate monitor. It's really important as well to just understand how that effort feels. If you can climb a hill of an hour and you can do it at 250 watts. If you're at the bottom doing 300 watts, is it sustainable? If you're using your heart rate and your peak for that similar climb will be 170 and you're doing 180, is it sustainable? If you're an experienced rider, you've probably got pacing to feel down, so that really will help you out and you'll be able to understand exactly how you should be feeling. And then, of course, that might help you later on in the event. And that's kind of it about not ruining the event itself. We talk about clothing. I'm not going to go into too much detail on clothing. If you want to find out my thoughts around what you should be wearing, like tips and hints and everything, hit my website. I'll put a link in the comments, on the description rather, on YouTube, and you can read through that. Wouldn't make great video content, let's be honest. So on that, we are done, and thank you ever so much for watching. As usual, I really appreciate any comments that you leave me, thumbs up, sharing it with your friends, like and subscribe. And as I said, if there's any resources that I've talked about through this, I'm going to link it in the description on YouTube, or you just scroll down on the blog on my website and you can find it all. So thank you ever so much. My name is Coach Pav, and have an awesome day.